Yeah, we'll start the class. Okay, until now we have seen in the unit 2 various religions we have seen. What are the values revealed by various religions? What we have to accept? What are the good values and what are the fundamentals values of each religion? Who proposed each religion? Who is the founder? Where it has been origin? And everything we used to refer about each and every religion. What are their values? So from those values we have to define what is human being. So how the physical body and the spiritual body, everything we have just separated out. Now the man's destiny, fate, what are the man's limitations, what are the human being's limitations, what is its fate, what is his fate, and everything we have to see. So out of that, the first one is a desire to live. So we are all the human beings. Okay, any living being in this world, everybody has a desire to live. Animals have a different desire to live. We have a desire to live many things, many, depending on our goal, depending on our satisfaction level, depending on our desires and everything. We have the many stages of desires for living. So in each stage our desire will change. Our desire will change according to our instincts, according to our inner feelings and everything. So every human being has a desire to live. So man has a strong desire to live. For everyone life is precious. So yes, my life is precious according to me, your life is precious according to you, and somebody else's life is precious according to them. And at the same time, every living being also considered itself as a precious thing. So therefore all of us, including animal, try our best to cling to life, knowing very well that we cannot escape death. So we all know that we cannot escape death. Someday we have to meet our death. We know that fact. Okay, somewhere or someday we have to meet our death. We know that fact. Despite of that, we are having a strong desire to live, strong desire to live with a good values. So do we know? So what do we know in this earthly world? In this earthly world, there are many things are happening in and around the world. So what are those things in the Western society or in the Western world? So there are many people who just store the stored or frozen bodies. What? Can somebody put off your mics? Number 15. Yeah. Uh, so man has a strong desire to live in. So there are many parts of the world, in and around the world. There are many parts where the dead bodies are just frozen, and they are keeping for the lifelong. They are keeping for many generations. Why? Because they are in hope that many scientists will work on that. Many scientists will just bring them back to this world, to this earthly world. They will have a hope that one. So many people will just uh, cremate the dead bodies using some cement and mortar and bricks and everything. Many people will take a photographs. Many people will just celebrate that one ceremoniously. They will celebrate that one, the dead bodies and everything. There are many people in and around us. There are many cultures. There are many type of people we will just celebrate. There are many type of people who will not be happy with the death. There are many types of people we are to whom they hope that scientists will just recall them into this earthly world. Okay, they will not bury them. Okay, they will just store them in some frozen source. Like example, Egypt. Okay, Egypt mummies, we used to refer that one. So they used to just does not dispose of their bodies, dead bodies. They used to keep them under a frozen condition, so that they are hoping that one day they will just come alive. They will just come alive in this earthly world. So, okay, there are many types of people in and around us. They are living. We have to know them. So some of us pray to our dead forefathers. Yes, some of us we pay. We just pray to the dead bodies of our forefathers, or we just visit to some burial grounds. We just pray to them. We visit cemeteries, monuments, and everything we will visit. So we keep photographs of our dead bodies. Whatever the dead bodies are there, we keep their photographs. Okay, many people in India, especially, we will keep the photographs of our forefathers. Okay, many generations will keep that one. So we erect statues for dead people. So it's a popular culture in our India. So we erect statues for the great persons who has been lived in this earthly world. So there are many types of people in and around us. So what is good or what is bad, we don't know. But we used to practice our culture according to our forefathers, according to their values, their beliefs. We used to practice this one. Nobody will say that this is bad, this is good. Okay, we have to decide that what we have to adopt, what we have to consider as our value. So everything exists, do exist. Okay, many people will frozen their bodies, dead bodies. Many people will just cremate that bodies. They will just construct a monument, they will just keep a photographs. Okay, all types of peoples are there. Then what is the destiny of man? So what type of destiny man has to make? What is destiny? Okay, destiny is end of that. We will say our goal is our destiny, but death is not the end of life. Okay, so always we consider that we have some goal. Okay, without meeting that goal, we could not die. We will just assume that one. So uh, we don't have to assume like that. Okay, death is not the end of life. If you say our soul constantly work for our goals. Okay, only we are just leaving our body, not our souls. Soul is not a deadly thing. Okay, it is a immortal thing. So what is our true reflection? By seeing the destiny, by just knowing what is the destiny, what is our reflection? So body, so whatever I am living inside the body is myself. Okay, my soul is me, not the body which I am just having for my whole life is not me. So first we have to understand that there's a physical body and there is a um, spiritual body. Whatever the spiritual body is there, which is me. Okay, whatever the physical body is there, that's simply a body which can be degradable. Okay, which can be fathomable. So everything will happens to our body after we leave this earthly world. So we have to have a true reflection that there are two types of body. One is a physical body and second one is a spiritual body. Out of this spiritual body, out of this physical and spiritual body, only me is that spiritual body, not our physical body is me. So we have to consider that in a two parts. Then only we can know that that spiritual body, the true inner body is there, which is am I. Okay, not the body which is physically visible to me. So my body is an instrument through which I act. So okay, whatever we are thinking about to act upon, we have a body, we are giving a we have just blessed with a physical body. That physical body will only act. Okay, whereas spiritual body, it's a thinking body. They will just think. Okay, according to the desire, the physical body will just act. So if so, what happens to me when I die? So when somebody is dying, when we are dying, so what happens to our body? We are just cremated, we are taken to burial grounds and everything. So what happens after that? What happens to my spiritual body? What happens to our physical body? We know that. Okay, we know that we will just take to some burial grounds. We will bury according to our culture, according to our religion. We will just they'll give a send off. But what happens to my soul? What happens to my spiritual body? We have to think upon that. So does my body die and my soul continue to live? Then where do I go after death? So these are the different questions we'll come across. Where do my soul will go? Where do my spiritual body will go? So there are many prescriptions. So for the desire, happiness, for the desire, for the happiness, for the goal-oriented life and everything, there are prescriptions from the religion. So to seek the destiny also, to seek the answer for our questions like what do my body do, what do my, where do my spiritual body will go. So to answer these questions, we will look after some of the religions. What those religions are suggesting, we have to look that one. So what is death according to the Hinduism? What is death according to some Islam? What is death according to Christianity? So we have to see that one. If you see, the soul is our spiritual body, okay, which considered as a deathless in the Hinduism, according to the Bhagavad Gita, so soul, which is a deathless spiritual body, so it will not have any death. Only our body will, only our soul will leave our physical body. Okay, that physical body will just cremate that. Okay, only then the soul will just occupy some other body, according to the Bhagavad Gita. It represents the following argument as a justification for killing in the war, saying these bodies come to an end. It is declared of the embodied, which is our soul, which is indestructible and infathomable. So incapable of, we'll say that fathomable is nothing but incapable of living to a desired living. Okay, whatever we are desiring, we are not living at that conditions. It's called as a infathomable. So therefore, fight, son of Bharata. So in the Bhagavad Gita, according to this verse of this Bhagavad Gita, so they are justifying the killing in the war. So they are saying whatever the soul is there, it is just going from the body, not some person is dying, according to the Bhagavad Gita. So life after death, there will be another life, according to the Hinduism. But what the Islam is just teaching us, so Islam does not consider the life after death. So life ceases after death, it is saying. So on the day of judgment, whatever the judgment day is there, according to our behavior, according to our good and bad things, according to our evil and spiritual things, we will be rewarded. Okay, if we have done a good things, we will be rewarded on the judgment day. If you have done a bad things, you will be just thrown to the hell. So that's a judgment day according to the Islam. So there is no life after death according to the Islam. So only the soul, it also considers the soul as a spiritual body, and whatever we are acting upon, it's called as a physical body. But the soul will have a judgment day. One day it will be having a judgment day. On those judgment day, according to our deeds, it will be rewarded, or it will be just given a punishment. So that day is called as a judgment day. Then next religion is a Christianity. So what according to what is the death according to the Christianity? So God will just let us to live once again according to the Christianity. So how do we live? How do we the bodies will be raised upon? So from the letter, the first letter of the Saint Paul's to the Corinthians. So there is a one interesting thing they are revealing in that one. What is the life after death? So someone will ask, how can the dead be raised to life? What kind of body will they have? So, the letter from the Saint Paul's, he's just saying, you fool, when you sow a seed in the ground, it does not sprout to life unless it dies. Okay, unless it dies, then only this sprout will just germinate, will just sow once again. So that's what according to that letter. And what you sow is a bare seed, perhaps a grain of wheat or some other grain. So whatever we are just seeding, where whatever we are just sowing a seed, it's just a bare seed. So to sprout upon that seed, so first it has to die, and then it has to come to a life once again. Then God provides that seed with the body he wishes. So whatever the God is wishing, that body will be provided to that particular seed. So whether it may be a wheat seed, or whether it may be some other seeds, depending on that one, the flesh will be provided to that one, which we are calling it as a body. Then God provides that seed with the body he wishes. He gives each seed its own proper body. So the flesh will be given by the God, which is according to that seed which we have sown. And the flesh of a living being, so whatever the body we are calling it as a, just it is a flesh. So and the flesh of living being is not the same kind of flesh. So there are many kinds of flesh in and around us. So what are those fleshes? Like human beings will have a different flesh, and animals, fish, birds and everything will have a different flesh. So depending on that only we are consuming one flesh. Like birds we are consuming, this fish we are consuming, some animals we are consuming, but we are not going for the human consumption. Why? Because we are differentiating the fleshes. Human flesh is different from the animal flesh, then human flesh is different from the bird flesh and fish flesh. So because of that, we are differentiating among the various fleshes. And there are heavenly bodies and there are earthly bodies. Like there are various types of fleshes are there. Like that, there are two types of bodies are there. One is a heavenly body and other one is a earthly body. The beauty that belongs to heavenly bodies is different from the beauty that belongs to earthly bodies. So earthly bodies will have a different beauty. Okay, they will have a flesh, and heavenly body will have a different beauty according to that one. The sun has its own beauty, and the moon another beauty. And even among the stars, there are different kinds of beauty. So nobody is comparable to each other. Each other will have a different types of flesh and different types of body, different types of beauty will be having to each other. So this is how it will be when the dead are raised to life. When the body is buried, it is mortal. When body is, it is called as mortal. When they are raised once again to the life, it is called as immortal. When buried, it is ugly and weak because it is already dead. When raised, that body is raised, it will be beautiful and strong. When buried, it is a physical body. When raised, it is a spiritual. Whatever the body is there, it's a spiritual one, not a physical body. Physical body is just decomposed, so it can be decomposed. Then there is of course a physical body, so there has to be a spiritual body. When there is a physical body is there, then there has to be a spiritual body. So according to the Christianity, once again life after the death is, so the judgment day is also. So there is a clear distinction between the spiritual and the physical body according to the Christian. So the prescription from these religions is, according to Hinduism, there is a prescription for the life after death is, there is a life after death. Then according to Islam, there is no life after death. Once body ceases its life means it has ceased their life. So there will be a judgment day, and on the judgment day it will be decided according to their deeds which are applied throughout their life. According to their deeds, they will be rewarded or they will be just punished on the judgment day. And Christianity, according to the Christianity, so there will be a life after death, and they will be whatever the bodies they are buried, it will be raised once again. So those raised bodies will be different from the physical bodies. So that's the different distinction between various religions. They are prescribing there is a life after death. These two religions, Hinduism and Hinduism and this Christianity, whereas there is no life after death, it is suggested by the Islam. Then approaches to God's existence. So how do we assume that there is a supernatural power? Yes, we do assume that there is a supernatural power. So how we can confirm that supernatural power is there and that is God's existence? We are calling that supernatural power as a God. So what are the proofs? What are our approaches to prove that there is a God, existence of God? What are the proofs? So first, if you see, there are many proofs in and around us. There are many proofs which are just running. So what are those proofs? If you just summarize those proofs into one location, the first one is a proof from contingency or dependency. We know that we are dependent on each other. Okay, like we are taking birth from our father and mother. There are two people who are responsible to give birth to us. So we can say that there is a contingency, there is a dependency. Then only we are coming into this world. From this one, we can say that there is a dependency, true dependency. So the first and foremost and the best approach to judge that there is the existence of a God is proof from contingency and dependency. The contingency of things means the casual, uncertain, changeable nature of their existence. So our existence is changing. Casually it is changing. Our nature is changing. All this is nothing but one type of dependency, one type of contingency. So this type of argument is also called as a proof from the dependency of things. So whatever the things we are having, we are eating, okay, nature is changing continuously. Our behaviors, our entire physical attributes, and everything so changing. So using this changeable nature, we can say that we can prove that there is the existence of a God. Then the argument on the fact that this argument can be based on the fact that every being in this world is contingent or dependent on some other things for its existence. So like a herbivores, like a carnivores, and everything which you might be studied in the environmental science. So herbivores, carnivores, in each other, we are dependent. We are eating a plants. Plant will just synthesize their food from the chlorophyll or from the sunlight. Okay, we are consuming the plants. So we are the secondary consumers. So plants are the primary consumers. They can synthesize their, they have sunlight. Then next, human beings, they have to depend on the plants or animals. Okay, that plant or animal is dependent on the plant, and at the same time human beings dependent on the animal, and human being is also dependent on the plants. So like that, we are interdependent on each other. So by this dependency, we can say that, we can prove that there is the existence of God. There is a dependency in this world. So every man now exists in the world owes his existence to other human beings. That's what we are the products of two other human beings. That from that one we can say that we are not created on our own. We are just dependent on some others to create, to get created. So that is nothing but our parents. Due to our parents only we are in this world. So from this proof we can say that there is existence of God. So no being in this world is originated. So we are not on our own. Not even an animal, not even a plant or something is originated like this one. This applies to everything, every living organism. This applies. This means that everything in the world is contingent or dependent on some other, some other being. So that's the dependency of a dependency or contingent of life, which is a proof for there is a God, existence of the God. So the undeniable existence of the material universe therefore argues the existence of independent being existing of itself. So there is no argument that that beings are what we say that one, interdependent. We are interdependent. There is no independent bodies. There is no independent living beings here. So from this dependency, we can say that there is a God. There is some supernatural power is there. Somebody will say Jesus. Somebody will say Allah. Somebody will say some Shiva or something. Everything will be referred to as a God. But whatever we are referring to, it will be some supernatural power. So from this supernatural power, we can assume that there is the existence of God is there. Then the proof from motion or change. So everything in and around us are changing. So that is one type of proof. On that one, we can base our argument. Like if you see in the olden days, there used to be a television. Okay, a huge compact television or a big computers will be there. Now the everything, this radios used to be there. Now the advanced plasma TVs, advanced OLEDs, and everything has come into existence. How they are changing, how they are evaluating, how they are exploring all these things. Some supernatural power has to guide us, to take these advancements in the technology. Some supernatural power has to guide us. From this one, the proof of motion or a change. So change is happening in and around us. So early days we used to have some landlines, only landlines. Then we have developed these cell phones. Now the more advanced one, the touch phones or the smartphones and everything, they are all in the advanced stage. How this motion or how these changes are happening in and around us. So only the man is capable of doing all these things? No, he is not at all capable of doing all these things. He is just somebody is guiding him to do all these things. Somebody is guiding to take this technology to the more advanced stage. So we cannot assume. Remember, in this world, one thing is constant. That is nothing but a change. Change is constant in this world. Okay, nothing apart from change, nothing is constant in this world. So from this change, from this motion, we can prove that there is the existence of a God. So proof from casuality. So so casualties. So life is just coming and life is just going. Somebody is coming into this world. Somebody is just leaving this world. From these casualties, we can say that there is a there is the existence of God. There is the existence of some supernatural power. One second. Okay, then the last one, the proof for existence of a God is proof from order and design and purpose. So whatever the material fact is created, whatever the material which we are creating in this world is nothing but it will have some purpose. It will have some order. If we are arranging a motor and brick in some order, so these are arranged in some order. Then the printer and everything, these are arranged in some order. So sun is coming according to its own purpose, and moon is coming according to its to fulfill its own purpose. So all these are created in order. All these are created according to their own design, or these are created according to their own purpose. So this purpose, order, and design will just let us know that there is the existence of some supernatural power, which we are calling it as a God. So that's the approach to God's existence. So from these arguments, we can say that there is the existence of some supernatural power. So that power we are calling it as a God or Allah or something else we are calling. So there is somebody above us. So first we have to see that one. So there are many people in and around us who will say that God has touched in this situation to me. So he touched me. That is nothing but when you are going through and somebody is going through some tough situation. He may be dream of some God. God may be helping to come in his way. Okay, like this, many people are existing in and around us. So some people will say, yes, God has helped in that situation to me. Okay, some as a student, somebody will say that God has helped me in this examination or something. Okay, there are many pleas are there, so they will say that God has touched me. So from this God has touched me statements also, we can know that there is some supernatural power who is providing us all the facilities which we are just enjoying now ourselves. So it may not be possible to convince everyone rationally, but the various arguments and approaches to prove the existence of God. Okay, there are four types of approaches to prove the existence of God. One is the argument of proof from the contingency or dependency, and second argument is the proof from motion or change, and third argument is proof from causality, and fourth argument is proof from order and design and purpose. So all these arguments, when we just argue that there is the existence of God using these following four approaches, there are many people in and around us, they will not accept that there is a God using the simple proofs. So, but there are people who experience the God's presence in this life. So apart from the argument of these four types of argument, there are also people who will say that God has a special presence in my life. Okay, they will say like that. So indeed, I will say that there is a God presence in my life. Okay, you can also experience that one. So perhaps you may be one such person who was touched by Him at some point of time in your life. So you may experience the feeling of like that. Okay, somebody is just helping me, somebody is around with me all the time. So that is nothing but a feeling that God is there, somebody is existing, some supernatural power is helping me, some supernatural power is letting me to enjoy whatever I am just enjoying now. So that's the feeling, that is called a he touched me. That feeling, many people will experience these things. Okay, apart from these four arguments, there are many people are there in this world who will say that yes, directly they will accept without any argument that yes, God is there, he touched me, he lives with me, he lives for me, and everything. These type of people are also there. Then what a world, a better place to live, is it all a better place to live or not? Okay, so to make our world a better place to live in, so what we have to do? So first one is, obviously, for everything we will just look after some religion, we will just look after some sacred books. So the does that religion or some sacred books will prove that there is the existence of God, will just guide us for the better living or not? Okay, we have to decide that what type of religion, what type of sacred book, what are those values they are revealing. Okay, everything we have to study, then only we will understand, we will practice that one, then only we can make our world as a better place to live in. So from religion and sacred books, we have learned that in the history of mankind, God has sent his messengers. So according to Islam, so Islam, they are referring that in each stage God has sent many messengers to guide us towards the God, to guide us towards the better living in this world. So everything God has just sent some messengers. some followers of him, so to lift a suffering from our life. Then according to some Hinduism, then God will come in some avatar. Okay, he will just take a human body and he will just live with us. He will just solve our problems. He will just show a way. He will just show a true path in this world to live in a better place. Like a Christianity, God will always be with us. Okay, Jesus will come once again and everything. All these arguments, how these arguments will come? So these all the arguments are based on the fact that we are living in this world. So we are practicing some religion, or we are just referring some sacred books. Everything we are doing means we have to make our world a better place to live in. So with these some sacred books, when we learn that one, then only we can come to know that what are the practices which we have to adopt, so that our life will be very happy, our life will be a better will be in a better condition to live in. So by these gestures, all these gestures, from the Islam, the messenger, from the Christianity, the Jesus, and from Hinduism, the avatars, all these gestures, what they are saying, God has always shown his love for mankind, his mercy, kindness, sympathy, and help to the people of all races and all kinds, whether it may be a good or whether it may be a bad, showing clearly that all of us are children of God. So by all these, whether it you may say it as a messenger, or whether it may be say as a Jesus, whether it may be say as a avatar, and everybody has to come in this world to just guide us, to take suffering from us, okay, to show us a righteous path and everything. Because why? Because God loves us. God will consider us as a children. God will always show us mercy. God has a will truly love us, will show a kindness towards our human beings. So that's what the supernatural power is guiding towards a better living in this world. So our part is that we already consider there are many values, there are many sacred books in this world. So we on our part, we have to decide what type of values we have to adopt. So it is well within our reach to transform this world into a society where love is the basis of all human relationship. So love is the basis for all the human relationship, which will guide us towards the righteous path. So all the religions, they are suggesting only the love is the true facet to guide us to a better living condition in the society. Every religion, the common agenda of every religion is love and the activity, so that all the true living people will have everlasting life by reaching the feet of the God, which is nothing but a moksha or heaven. Somebody will say hell and heaven, somebody will say the moksha. So whatever it may be, we have to decide whatever what the practices we have to adopt, what are the values we have to adopt, so that we will be have a good relationship. To have a good relationship, we should have a love in us. We should love each other. So we should be remain in harmony with each other. Then only we can make our world as a better place to live in. So that was the argument of God is existing in this world. Then and the last topic is love. Now we are just summarizing every religion or every transformation which is going on in and around our world, in and around our world, is nothing but based on the love. When we base every feeling, every trust based on this love, every relationship based on this love, then only we can make this world as a better place to live in. Then only we can just make this world a good place. So what is this love? So how we can base our argument on the love? So love is union with somebody or something outside one. The condition of retaining the separateness and integrity of one's own self. Okay, we don't want to sacrifice on our own. Love is just a feeling. It's a good gesture. Okay, so we will keep that inside us. It will not retain a separateness and integrity. So we will practice our integrity. We will have our own integrity, but we will just show some gesture. We will show some feeling, that is called as a union of love. Then it is the experience of sharing of communion which permits the full unfolding of one's own inner activity. So whatever the inner activity is there, it will be based on some feeling which is called as a love. So love can come into being only when there is a total self-abandonment. So whenever you will consider you will have a integrity, you will have your own self-respect, everything. You don't have to compromise your thing, but you have to abandon yourself. Yes, your selfishness you have to abandon. Then only love will come into existence, into your life. So it is the term. Is the term love limited only to the boy-girl relationship? Is it so? Is it so? Is it not? Why? Because only the relationship between boy and girl is a true love means. What about the parents' love? What about the some friendship? So all these are the love only. Whatever sister, brother, they are showing some love towards us. So whatever this, how can you define that love? So love only the boy and girl, which they are experiencing in their relationship is a love means. What about all the other relationship? What they are showing? What about the feelings? All the other relationship are just showing. If you see this figure, self, okay, self. When you consider yourself, it will be shown as a selfishness. When you mingle with other relationship, so the love will comes into the existence. Not a true, not a boy. The relationship between boy and girl is considered as a love. Everybody whom you are loving, everybody by whom you are getting a good gesture is called as a love. Like a father and mother, they are showing a true love towards you. Then sister and brother, they are showing a true love. That is also that feeling is also that caring is also called as a love. Then other family members, there are many family members, other family members are also showing some feeling towards you. So that is also called as a love. Then wife and husband, so wife and husband will also show a feeling, a good gesture. It is also called as a love. Then all children. When you have a children, you will know that some feeling, some caring will be there. That is also called as a love. Friend, whatever our friend, our true friend will be there, they will also show some gesture, which is also called as a love. Some actor or player, whoever showing a care, he is acting, he is sacrificing for the society. That is also called as a love. Then people living in the same building, quarters, village, town, or country, everybody who is showing some gesture is also a love. Then possession, enemy, animals and object, some feeling will be there, some enmity or something. All these feelings will come through a feeling called a love. Then plant, land, nature, we will show our feeling, our true feeling to some plants, land, or nature. That is also a one form of love. Then nation, mother tongue, in everything, this is also a based upon the feeling, which is called as a love. We will show some caring towards us, which is called as a self-love or a self-care. So then we will show some respect towards God. That is also one feeling which is called as a love. So erotic love begins with separateness and ends in oneness. Then motherly love begins with oneness and leads to separateness. So you have to understand this by your own words. This one. So this what is agape? So this is nothing but a Greek term for loving without self-benefit. So this is a Greek term from which the definition of love comes into existence. So agape is nothing but a Greek term which shows that love without any benefit. So that is called as a agape. So this is about love. Then in the next class, we'll try to see based on this feeling, based on this all this love argument of love. Every religion is suggesting the love when the love is coming to our existence, our life will be very happy. Every religion is saying the same thing. Then what is this love? Not only the boy and girl relationship we have seen is a true love. So every feeling which we are showing to others, which we are getting from others, and everything is called as a love. We will just see this one. So based on this argument of love, we will divide the three components of love. What type of love that is based on these actions. Okay, we can say these components as the actions. Based on each component of the action, we will divide eight varieties of love from the no love to the ultimate love. So what are these eight varieties of love we have to see? So most probably this will be the last topic. So there are three components of love. Based on these three components of love, if you have you are having this intimacy, then these are the three actions you will experience. If you have a passion, one component of love, then you will experience all these actions. When you have only commitment, you will experience all these actions in that form of love. Based on these components and actions of love, there are 8 varieties of love. These 8 varieties of love. So if you are adopting, if you are just evaluating some person based on their actions, so you need to evaluate, you need to classify that particular love in the 8 varieties, 8 forms of love. Then only you can know that whether it may be a consummate love, nothing but a ultimate love, or whether it may be a empty love, or whether it may be a non-love, or there is no love at all. So based on that argument only, we will just fix a relationship. Okay, this relationship is truly touching my heart. This relationship is not touching my heart. Based on these arguments only, we will decide that. Based on these feelings only, we will advance in our careers. We will advance in our lives by adopting a marriage as a criteria. So in that one, there are two types of marriage. One is a love marriage and arranged marriage. So what are the advantages of love marriage? What are the advantages of arranged marriage? And what are the disadvantages of a love marriage? And what are the advantages of love marriage and arranged marriage? We have to see. So that's what for today. Yeah, if you have any doubts, you can contact me. I think you are exhausted for now. Yeah, we will meet in the next class. Thank you for listening.